Good morning and welcome. Just give it a couple more minutes. We're almost at our number, I think, here. Okay, let's jump in. Good morning and welcome. Thank you all for being here. My name is Moira Roger. I'm the CEO and founder of Magnify Digital, and I want to welcome you to a new series, ScreenMiner 30s. These are, we know everyone's busy, so these are just short 30-minute sessions that we're going to do monthly. And the idea is to keep you up to date on ScreenMiner, our audience analytics platform that many of you are using. If anyone's new to ScreenMiner, it is an audience analytics platform that brings data together from multiple sources and then visualizes it and provides insights to help you build your audiences. So the first volume is, I hope aptly named, An Intro to Audience Analytics, How to Leverage ScreenMiner and Build Audiences. I am pleased to be here today with our customer success, Swartz, who's our customer success manager based in Vancouver, and Stephanie Buono, who is based in Quebec and manages our French market. So a couple of housekeeping notes. We are recording the session. Your cameras are off and mics are muted. It's a Zoom webinar. And we're going to do a Q&A at the end, but by all means, feel free at any point to pop any questions you might have in the chat. Okay. I want to thank our sponsors who are supporting the event today and ScreenMiner and ScreenMiner 30s. That's TELUS Fund, Bell Fund, and Shaw Rocket Fund, who have been great supporters of audience development efforts and data collection, audience data collection, as we've gone through developing ScreenMiner over the past couple of years. And some of you have been with us for that ride. Thank you very much. It's been a long evolution, but we're getting to a very exciting place with the platform. Know Magnify Digital is based in Vancouver. We specialize in strategy, training, and technology for the screen industry. We are passionate about helping creators and everyone in the media value chain build audiences. We're an international team. We are grateful to be headquartered in Vancouver on the unceded and traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I'll flip it over to Jonah to take it from here.
Great. Thanks, Moira. And thanks everyone for being here today. So I'm just going to briefly go over the agenda here for today. So we're going to start off with an intro and background on the ScreenMiner platform. Then we'll go through a live demo of the platform and highlight its main features. From there, we'll showcase the best ways to leverage your data and help you build your audiences. Then we'll wrap things up with a quick summary of what we discussed, and then of course take some time for QA, as well as have a quick glance of things of what's to come. So to start, I'm going to hand it back off to Moira just to talk a bit about the genesis of ScreenMiner.
Yes. Okay. So as I said, some of you, and I'm very grateful to you if you've been on the ride and gone through all of the many iterations. I've learned that software is never finished, unlike television production, which I used to do, where you'd finish it and go on holiday. Software continues evolving. And so thank you for those of you who have been on the ride and will continue to be on the ride as we improve the product. We started it, just to back up for those that don't know, we started developing ScreenMiner because we were asked by some of our clients, some of our funding clients, to try to gather data to help understand how projects were performing and how they could help producers help them build their audiences. And we found that the data sets were very narrow. We know traditionally they were TV ratings and box office. And audience consumption habits are obviously changing, and audiences are interacting with our content on many, many different platforms. And sometimes those other platforms that maybe house complementary content, shorts or featurettes, the views for that kind of content were really being left on the table. So we felt like projects were being undervalued when considering their entire reach. And there was no standardized means of data collection. So it was super onerous for producers to have to go. And we know on the agency side, it's onerous to have to go to every platform and extract the data. A view over on YouTube doesn't mean the same as a view on Facebook. So it was a ton of work, and it was adding to the already expanded role for producers, which is now we have to help market our products, which was never really a role in the past. So ScreenMiner is created to support producers and that project success. As I said, that's what gets us out of bed in the mornings and keeps us going. We're here to try to make it easier for Canadian producers, particularly, to build audiences and have success in your businesses.
Great. And just continuing on what Moira said, so in terms of the value proposition of ScreenMiner, so ultimately it empowers producers with new metrics and insights in a digestible, easy to use format. It also aggregates data in a one-stop shop instead of having to use several external trackers and reports. It's a tool to adjust your marketing strategy and help build a larger audience. A tracking system to help you reach your audience and development goals. And also the reporting is now streamlined in a format that's directly aligned with funder requirements. Great, so the next portion of the webinar is the best part, the most exciting part, which is the live demo and showcasing some of the new features. All right, so to start, we'll go from the homepage over to analyze viewership, which you can see here. For those who are new to the platform, this is a view that you'll see once you've been onboarded. If you have not yet been onboarded, Stephanie or myself will be connecting with you and guide you through that setup process every step of the way. So on the main viewership page, you'll notice 3 main sections to note. At the top right is the calendar date picker. To the right of that is a filter widget, which we'll touch on shortly. And just below that is the main viewership and what we call our hero numbers under all channels, digital platforms, and broadcasters. What you're looking at is a dummy account of a one-off show with made-up data. Of course, your actual data is protected and would not be shown off in a demo like this. And we'll be sure to touch a bit more on privacy and security a bit later in this webinar. Okay, so looking at this first chart, notice how it provides a helpful breakdown of total views for each content. In this example, you can see that Vimeo is a top performer. It's pretty interesting observation to note and how we could possibly leverage that. We'll talk a bit more, kind of dive into that. So when we look at the content breakdown, we also notice that broadcaster audience data is one of the platforms for this project. So I'm just going to quickly hand it back off to Moira to speak a bit more on that.
Yeah, this is a super exciting development. And for any of you who have had to, go to your broadcaster or platform and try to get data because your funders are requiring it, you end up caught almost between, feels like you're caught between parents. And CBC has been amazing. CBC and SRC are providing data for EC2 for SRC and GEM for CBC, as well as APTM is providing data from Lumi. So if your shows are airing on those or are published to those platforms, the data is coming to ScreenMiner directly. Now, it's obviously marked very clearly here as confidential data because you can't share it. You're still obliged to adhere to the long form agreement that you have. That means the data is confidential. So we're reminding you that fact. You have that fact, but it's great because you can actually now see the data and see it's so great to be able to see how some of your marketing efforts are actually correlating with viewership on some of those channels. And Joan is going to go into that shortly, but we're super excited about this development. Very grateful to CBC, SRC and APTN. And we're going to be adding more data sources. We'll be announcing those in the days to come.
Great. Thanks for that, Moira. So below the main viewership chart, we can see a few more informative charts. This one, for example, TikTok starts and Instagram Reel plays. This one was purposely positioned on its own due to TikTok and Instagram Reels being measured a bit differently than a traditional view, mainly due to the fact that these types of videos autoplay. Beside this chart, you can also see total minutes watched, Facebook and YouTube, which you can toggle each platform. And then below that, you can see views over time. So these two line graphs are across a set timeline and displayed month over month to convey observable trends. For example, we know from above the main viewership chart that Vimeo is our top performing platform. And with views over time, we can further break it down that viewership spiked in the month of December 2022. So types of questions you want to be thinking about or that sparks is what content and marketing did we roll out during that time and what kind of caused the month of December to perform so well. Lastly, on this page, when we scroll down, we can see the primary versus complementary chart. So in the inner circle, We can see the ratio of primary content, which refers to full-length features or episodes, compared to the complementary content, which includes things like promotional content, trailers, behind the scenes, etc. In this example, roughly about 75% of the content is complementary, whereas about a quarter is primary. Now, on the outer ring of the chart, what is really cool and we love about this is you can see the sources of the content. So again, in this example, we can see that the majority of the complementary content is coming from Vimeo and TikTok, while the broadcaster data is the main source of primary content. A little bit of Instagram Reels you can see there as well. Seeing this split view can be hugely helpful. Complementary content can be as meaningful as the primary content. For example, it could advance an important conversation around a doc or extend the story world of a scripted series. This viewership was often left out of the success equation. Now you can see how it does. And with custom video tagging, you can get even more granular and see which types of complementary content drive the most viewership. So with custom tagging, this is an easy way to gain even greater insights about the content you are spending time and effort to create. So continuing on the theme of complementary content, just going to go over to our section. So if we go to update tag videos, this is where all of our linked content exists and lives. So if you go to manage tag categories at the top here, this is where you can create and manage all of your categories, all of your tag categories. So let's say you create a category here called themes, which you can see below here. So just let me drop down. Then you identify each of your complementary content videos with tags like trailers, promos, behind the scenes, and influencer content, so third-party kind of stuff. You can see which content theme drives the most engagement, which is enormously helpful for understanding what your audiences on each platform care about. You might want to do more of what's working and tweak what's not. So it's a great way to refine your audience development effort and optimize your content. So again, going back to the tag videos, a quick glance of our tag videos page. So let's just search, just keep on that theme of Vimeo content because you know it's our top performer. Great, so quick search shows that the majority of our Vimeo content is complementary, which we already know from the pie chart on the main viewership page. But looking at this page, we can see that the tagged theme is mainly trailers, which is interesting. So following this, if we go to our analyze and our top social content, so 1 second to load here. Okay, great. So we can see exactly which of our social media content or videos is performing the highest, right? So if we kind of channel right into the Vimeo, we can see exactly this post and what it is, and it has a hyperlink to she, which is the highest performing video.
Jonah, I just want to jump in here and say, like, I know that those of you who are used to working in this space, if there's any, I don't know if there's any agencies on the call, but you know that what Jonah just walked through and showing top 5 posts, this takes hours and hours of work to do if you do it manually, and we've certainly done it for reporting. So this is one of the sort of most obvious benefits of ScreenMiner. It's a new feature we added recently, but this can really help you with your organic social and figuring out what content is working and where you want to, do more of what's working, as Jonah said, and do less of what's not.
Great point, Moira. Thanks for that. So again, this is just kind of like a top overview of social media content. We do have a whole engagement page, which you can see on the left-hand side over here. There's a lot to dive in, some really exciting stuff on that page. We are going to save it just for the sake of time. Again, we want to keep these bite-sized for an upcoming future webinar. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about on this webinar to help with your insights and build your audiences is a really cool tool that we call the activity log. So let's just let the homepage load again. Perfect. So notice at the top right, we have users, some notifications. This is where you manage your login, but this little icon here is the activity log. This is where you can add all your new entries. So essentially this helps you gain insights. Here you can input your key development activities, example, the start and end dates of a YouTube or any paid ad campaign, and then lay it over the viewership to see if you can find some correlations. So for example, some sorts of questions that come to mind. Did your campaign drive the kind of outcome, perhaps the increase in views that you had hoped for? Again, this is a way to see what's working and what needs to be refined. And historically, this kind of reporting and analysis happens long after campaigns end, right? So kind of in hindsight, whereas ScreenMiner helps you to see what's going on when there is time to apply the insights and optimize results in real time. So, perfect, so let's go down. So we can see, just gotta toggle them on. Give me 1 second here. There we go. All right, so we can see on the total minutes watched as well as on the views over time, we have a couple activities. So for example, on this chart, the views over time, you can see in November that TikTok views spiked. Now, because of our activity log, we note that at the start of the month of November, so November 1st, we started a TikTok ad campaign. So that coincided with the viewership of TikTok spiking. We can also see, again, using the Vimeo example, that Vimeo peaked in December of last year. And we have an activity log that notes that there was a blogger review. So it looks like there was some sort of influencer marketing that we implemented that caused some viewership spiking. So lots of cool insights that you can glean and mark and keep track of and have it visualized all in one place. Awesome. Now, the last analysis view I want to show you folks is on actually a different project. Just going to jump there to Aces High. Awesome. So as we know, the one-off demo is a one-off project, whereas Aces High is a series with multiple seasons. So this project, it's a fake series called Aces High. And when we use the filter widget, so right now we're in the default platform view. We can see all of the different social media content. So again, Facebook, Instagram. It also has its own broadcaster data. So when we go to the filter widget, we go to aggregate or total data. Here we see an option appear to filter for season. So when we click season, we can toggle the first 2 seasons. Let's close that back. Perfect. And now we have an overview of the first 2 seasons broken down by episode. So we can compare the viewership totals and performance of each episode and season. So taking a quick look at this chart, we can observe, some pretty interesting trends. For example, in the first season, the first couple episodes of season 1 had somewhat lower viewership compared to the rest of the season. And season 2 seems pretty steady, to be honest. It seems like it was doing pretty well throughout the whole. Oh, actually, there we go. Sorry, we just zoomed in a bit. That's what I wanted to see. So yeah, you can see the first 2 episodes of season 1 had low performers. And then when we break it down to season 2, kind of steady throughout the whole and definitely ended on a stronger note. So this is, again, another helpful overview, and it helps you kind of spark the thinking of what type of marketing techniques were implemented during each respective episodes, what kind of stuff went well. And again, it goes back to the activity log that you can see kind of what you did to help spark those audience development strategies. Awesome. All right, so just to reiterate on some of the topics that we covered here. So we went over the main viewership page. We talked about our exclusive partnership with some broadcasters, as well as the ability to link all of the main digital streamers. We went through the primary and complementary viewership. We defined what each one was. And then with a series, we broke it down from a season and episodic view. In terms of gaining insights and leveraging data, you can do this with some of the embedded tools of ScreenMiner, like the activity log and the custom tagging, to really get you that full picture, that granular view. Later on in an upcoming webinar, we'll be talking about a benchmarking feature as well, but just for the sake of time, we'll leave that for a future one. So again, just to summarize the stuff that we went over, ScreenMiner, it ultimately addresses an industry gap in data analytics. It provides valuable insight and empowers users to build audiences. And thirdly, it standardizes and streamlines funder reports. Now, before we turn it over to Q&A, because definitely want to take some time for that, I just wanted to briefly speak, and I mentioned it earlier on in the webinar, on the very important topic of data privacy and security. So here at ScreenMiner, we follow industry best practices for data security and protection. Our approach is built on the 4 key pillars for secure systems. So the first one being physical security. So all data resides in secured systems within Amazon Web Services, data centers, providing best-in-class protection from theft and tampering. The second pillar is logical security, which means data systems are segregated on independent VNC networks within the Amazon infrastructure. Customer-facing systems are fully isolated from development and QA systems. A small subset of Magnified Digital employees, the backend developers, that is, have access to ScreenMiner data on a strictly need-to-know basis. The third pillar is encryption at rest, which refers to data systems and backups they're fully encrypted using database native encryption layers. And then the fourth one is encryption in transit. So internal communications between ScreenMiner systems and external user systems rely on a special encryption type, eliminating the possibility of man-in-the-middle attacks, eavesdroppings, and other things like spoofing. So we, again, take your data privacy and security extremely important with ScreenMiner and have tools in place to ensure that protection. Great, so I'm unable to see the chat, so I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Stephanie to kind of oversee and go through any questions that were answered. And if you haven't already posted in the Q&A section, by all means, now's the time to do so.
Okay, well, hello, everyone. There was one question where, well, the last one right now, and I did not answer it. It says, you mentioned some data is confidential earlier. Can you expand on this?
Sure, I can take that one. So the data, yeah, it's a lot to take in. And so thanks for asking for these clarifications. So the data that's coming from the broadcasters, specifically CBC, Radio Canada, and APTN, is provided on a confidential basis to the platform. But even if they were providing that data to you by email or how they maybe have in the past, it's always confidential. If you look at your long form agreement, that data can't be, there'll be a confidentiality clause in there. So their proprietary broadcaster viewership data can't be shared beyond with your funders or anyone who needs to know on your team. So that's what we mean when we talk about it being confidential data. The other point of confidentiality that Jonah raised is the fact that none of your data for your specific show will be visible to anybody else other than the funder who you empower, or funders, if you have multiple, who you empower to see that data. So you would never be able to go in, and if you're Schitt's Creek, you can't go in and compare your data to, I don't know, another web series, How to Buy a Baby. You will be able to see, and we'll go into it in future webinars, you'll be able to see the benchmark. You can see how your project is performing relative to a similar show. That's one of the things I'm most excited about with ScreenMiner. You'll not just be compared to, you know, did you get 1 million views? You'll be able to compare your project at that time in market with a project that's similar to yours at similar times in market, but it will be anonymized. So there's never fewer than 5 shows that will be, that are required in order to create that kind of benchmark for you. So that's the way one of the ways your data becomes confidential, or it remains confidential on the platform.
Great. We have another one. It says, is the filtering my season automatic or something we need to tag?
It's a very good question. So let me slide back to the example, the demo. So it is essentially, if you're a multiple season series, then you will need to tag that. So if you go to the tag videos, you'll notice for series that there's a second default. This is a default category. So there's a content type, which is the first default category. And the second one is episodes. So here is where you can denote, this was manually uploaded, so I can't, but if you were to add it here, you can manually tag each episode by season and episode number. So yeah, it will have to be manually tagged exactly.
Great. There's another one. It says, now that broadcast data is available to connect to our accounts, could you show us how to do that?
Do you want to take that one, Moira, or I can hop in?
Now that broadcast data is available to connect, you don't have to do anything. Actually, the broadcaster data comes in and is assigned to your show by title. So you don't actually have to do anything. It'll just appear.
Yep, and then the customer success side would connect with you and let you know, like inform you and walk you through that.
Yeah, and just for clarity, the other data, like if it's non-broadcast data, that account, like what Jonah was showing you with Vimeo and YouTube, that's what the CS team, Jonah and Stephanie will help you. They'll show you how to link your account, which is very, I don't know if you have time to just kind of point to the area even.
Yeah.
Jonah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just a basic account setup.
If you've, it just takes moments, and what the really important thing is to make sure you have your login information, so that when Jonah or Stephanie get on a call with you, you have the proper login, and then it's like linking any kind of third-party account. Actually, if you click on add an account, Jonah, we can just show these are the 9 accounts that you can link. And it's just like linking any kind of third-party account. It takes just a few minutes. You give the permissions. We don't get to go in and meddle around with your accounts or anything like that. We don't see your password. It's not kept. It's just sort of a standard third-party linking, and that allows the data to flow directly into your account where it's visualized.
As for questions, that's all we have. So you did a great job explaining everything.
Great. So just before we let everyone go, appreciate the questions, by the way, participation. Just a quick look ahead. So our second installment, volume 2 of the webinar, will be in early May. The date and topic still to be determined, TBD, but look out for that and look out for communications on that topic soon.
You know what, Jonah? I just noticed there's a couple of other questions that are open.
Oh, are they? Okay, sorry, I
If we
can't
have
see
a couple of minutes, maybe we can jump on these. I noticed, sorry, Stephanie, do you see them? I noticed Instagram.
Yeah, sorry, I was in the wrong place.
Yeah, no, there's not at all. Okay, so one question, I noticed Instagram was both in the primary and complementary parts of the chart. How is it suggested that we break each platform down? So if you saw Instagram in both sections, it means that that person was running both their primary and complementary content on Instagram. And so typically that's pretty obvious. Like it would be kind of a little bit surprising to have primary content on Instagram, depending on the length of it. But it's really just as simple as, let's say on YouTube, for example, maybe a better example, you would tag which is primary, let's say, and your complementary content. And that really is the breakdown, because the other platforms will, it'll then break down no matter where that video is. If it's tagged complementary, it will always show up as complementary. And if it's primary, it'll always show up as primary. In terms of how is it suggested we break each platform down, beyond the tagging, I mean, that depends on your strategy, right? Of where you want to place your complementary content. And what ScreenMiner will help you do is show where the complementary content is engaging best with audiences. I hope that's answered that question. If I haven't answered that properly, please feel free to follow up. And the last one is, what's the best use case for this data outside of reporting to funders? Awesome question. So reporting to funders is what we hope will get you on the platform. The valuable insights is what we hope will keep you on the platform. Because the way we use the platform in the agency when we're working with clients is to be able to see what's going on. Typically what we've done in the screen sector is we've reported, and it's all sort of rear view mirror stuff. Oh, this is what worked well. This is what didn't work well in our campaign 6-12 months after the activities went on, and you can't change anything. By being able to see your data, to be able to check in and not have to spend hours and hours pulling it through different spreadsheets and whatnot, being able to see it, you get a better sense of what's working. So the best use case world is if people start using this to make more efficient use of their limited resources for audience development, both in terms of paid and just the labor to actually do this work. And if you're able to build bigger audiences or drive deeper engagement, whatever your goals are, might be both impact and reach. If the platform helps you to do that better, if it data that shows a domestic success that you can provide to your sales agents or your distributors to help you get an international deal, that's, for me, all of those are sort of best use cases and will have made all of this worthwhile in building it. That's really our ultimate goal. So again, if I didn't answer anything there, please don't hesitate to follow up. And again, I just want to acknowledge Shaw Rocket Fund, Bell Fund, and TELUS Fund for their support today.
Great. So on behalf of Moira and Stephanie, thank you all so much for coming. Really appreciate the attendance and the participation. Some great questions, great discussion. And we look very forward to continuing this webinar series and connecting with all you next month. And next time, we'll be sure to enable the video for the audience, just so that we can see everyone's lovely faces. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful week and long weekend.
Good job, man.
You want me to leave?
I guess I can leave too. It's hard to see with the screen share.